Good morning, everyone. Country Flyboy here, and today, A2A Cessna 172 cross-country tutorial. And the very first part of cross-country is cross-country flight planning. So, this is where we are on my desktop. Lovely picture of Laura Croft. I think this is an artistic rendering of the new Tomb Raider. This was from the trailer. Can't wait for that. I actually liked the last Tomb Raider. I thought it was pretty good, but a lot of people didn't. Okay, so today, we bring up Plan G here. This is what we're doing. We're going to be going from Folkson's Davis Field, which will give us a nice short field departure, and we're going to be heading down to Crystal River, Florida, which has both a soft runway and a paved runway, so depending on the weather we could get either one, so it's going to be a nice one. Pretty direct flight is not that bad, so we're probably going to follow these interstates here, and these major highways can get us right there. Won't be going through any major airspace, but let's plan the flight. So the first thing we have to do is look at the weather. So this is the weather conditions, current weather conditions. This is aviationweather.gov, which is by far the best weather website in the United States. This, or DUOTS, if you have access to it, is the best one. So if we look at the weather around our departure airfield, Cecil is reporting broken skies. Brunswick reporting broken skies. Everybody else is reporting clear or mostly so. NAS Jacks, scattered, broken. Alrighty, and as we go further south towards our destination, it clears. There is some mist, or there was some mist and fog over here, but I guess it's cleared up now. So overall, the weather looks good for our flight. So let's plan the route real quick. So when you're planning a route, now this is concerning VFR routes. IFRs, you would usually just be sticking to airways. So for VFR routes, we're going to go down to, oops, let's see, I clicked the wrong button. I really like Plan G. It's very good at doing VFR flight plans, because you can put a waypoint anywhere and just plop it right on down. And then we could follow this over to gains to this area right here, and we can basically follow the roads down here to, we want to stick close to major roads when you're flying VFR. It gives you a good place to land should you have an emergency. And major roads are very prominent in Flight Simulator, especially the interstates, even if you're just using default terrain in vector class. So these roads should be visible and a good waypoint to follow. Now, one thing I like about Plan G is excellent VFR flight planning. So we've already got our start position from our airport, so we need an altitude. The way we get our altitude, or at least what I do most of the time, is if I go to the standard briefing, METAR, terminal. I'm looking for the area forecast. We're in the Miami area. Alright, so I like to get the area forecast to decide on my altitude. A lot of people use winds aloft, but it doesn't matter what the winds are if you can't get clear of the clouds. So we're looking for Georgia, southern Georgia. The skies are scattered with scattered ceilings above till 1400 Zulu, occasional 3 to 5 visibility in mist, isolated light thunderstorms and rain developing 1800 to 2000 Zulu. It is currently 1400 Zulu, so we got plenty of time before all that has to happen. As for Florida, we'll be on the northern Florida and central peninsula. So let's see, northern to central peninsula. How convenient. Scattered 2000 with scattered ceilings above, becoming 16, 18 scattered, 4000 broken, 10,000 tops at flight level 280. Widely scattered light thunderstorms and rain. Cumulonimbus top above 450. 2000 Zulu, scattered light thunderstorms and rain. Outlook is VFR with thunderstorms and rain. Alrighty. Now, as of right now, we know the weather is good because we looked at the METARs. And the area forecast for both areas that we're going to be flying in is looking like VFR with scattered clouds and becoming IFR and scattered thunderstorms later. Alright, so really any altitude will work right now as long as we're above the clouds, and they were scattered around 2000, so give us a wide berth. It's probably about an hour-long flight. I'd say 4,000 or 6,000 feet would be good. We're going southbound. There's a bit of a misunderstanding in the flight sim community that eastbound flights go odd altitudes, westbound flights get even altitudes, and that is true, except in Florida. If you look at Florida, you'll see that all of its traffic is mostly north and south, and very little of the traffic is east and west. So Florida has a special exception to the east-west rule. Jacksonville Center and Miami Center will often have planes going at another altitude. If you're going southbound, you will get an even altitude, and northbound will get an odd altitude. Now, before they hand them over to another center, like if you're flying out of Jackson heading for Atlanta, before Jacksonville hands you over to Atlanta Center, they will either climb or descend you to the proper altitude. So yeah, even if you're going roughly westbound and you're leaving Florida, you'll still be given an even altitude at first. So that's the rule you want to follow with VFR. Since we're going south, we'll get an odd altitude, or did I say even? I can't remember. I think it's, yeah, southbound is even. Pretty sure it's southbound even. So we'll be getting, let's see, let me pull up the winds for jacks. Now we're going to be using just the jacks, and in real life you would interpolate these wind conditions to get the winds at various altitudes, but in flight sim you can just use the closest one. There's no need to really interpolate this. So we're going to be around 4,000 or 6,000 feet. So if we look here, I'm going to say we'll go to 6,500. Temperature today is 16 degrees. That's a bit above standard for that altitude. Alrighty, so 20 above standard at 6,000. We're looking at a true airspeed of 119 knots, 8.6 on the gallons per hour. Alright, so we're going to plug our altitude in, 6,500. Or did I say... God, my brain's just... My train of thought's derailing today. Southbound is odd. Even. Okay, 6,500. Alright, so 6,500 is our altitude. We're expecting 119 knots in airspeed. And the winds are... The winds are 280 at 7. So 280 at 7 knots. And Plan G is running through all of our calculations for us already. VFR, we've got our altitude, we've got our waypoints. Now, one thing I'm going to do real quick is set up cross-references. Going to, if I remember how, it's been a while. Cross-references. Waypoint cross-reference to the Cecil VOR. Basically all you do is, what this is doing is it's going to set up, as you can see there, cross-reference. So when I am on the Cecil VOR radial 109, I'll know I've passed this waypoint. Very, very useful feature of Plan G there. Although we're going to be flying VFR, so we shouldn't have too much of a use for it. But it's always a good idea. So now we've set up the cross references for every waypoint along our flight plan. We've gotten our weather. So that's a quick, easy way to do a VFR flight plan in Flight Simulator. As you can see, I used the performance data from the manual with the A2A 172. Quick and easy Plan G, which is a freeware add-on, by the way. Highly recommended, and if you get it, do donate some money to the guy. He did a very good job with this software. And as you can see, it's very, very good at flight planning, especially for VFR flights. Alright, and it works when it can connect to Flight Simulator and give you a whole lot more fun stuff. Alright, so weather and flight plan is good. We're just going to export the flight plan to Flight Simulator. And real quick, we're going to look at our flight plan. Now, great thing I love about Plan G is its navlog. Very good navlog for VFR flights. So I'm going to print this out and we're going to be using it today. Alrighty, should be able to send this to my printer. Alright, so we're good to go on the flight plan, and we see you in the airplane. Alright, we just got done pre-flighting. I've set everything up. And just a quick note on this video, we're going to be time-lapsing most of it. I'm going to do real-time at a few specific points, but for the most part we're going to be time-lapsing it, so just try to watch it and you can quickly see what I'm doing. I'm going to be doing all the things that we did, basically everything we've learned in the other videos, just condensed into one thing. But I want to show you this real quick. Now, while I was pre-flighting, this is where the oil is at. We're at just below 7 quarts. We're doing a cross country, so we want to have 7 quarts at least. 6 quarts is good. This would be fine if we were doing local area, but since we're doing cross country, we're going to up it to 7 quarts as soon as I hit the right button. But you can only add 1 quart at a time, so that got it a little too close to 8. But, oh well. Alright, so we are ready to go. Let's get this party started. And one last thing I want to mention, I'm also going to have AI traffic on for this flight. So, we'll be zigzagging around the clouds and around other airplanes. Alright, so once again, we're going to be time-lapsing most of this video, and I will be keeping the talking to a minimum. Alrighty. Alrighty, so we're ready for takeoff now. We're going to be taking off from runway 18, the winds favor it, and we're going to have a good crosswind from the right. So, last check, altimeter, HSI.
Davis traffic, Cessna, November 906 Charlie Sierra, taking off runway 18, departure to the south.
Alrighty. So here we go. Now there's no turnaround bay here. So what we have to do is keep the aircraft on the runway and turn around when we get to the end of it. It's a bit tricky and easier to do from an external view. So approach it slowly and be ready to use those brakes. Give it some power. Take out all the frickin' runway lights like I just did. And don't worry about the frackin' lineup, alright? Just get it set. Alright, we're ready for takeoff, so here we go. We'll set full power. Now, taking off from this runway, we do have an obstacle to worry about. Look at those trees. Alright, everything looks good. Gauge is in the green. Release the brakes. Alrighty, now we're climbing. Want to get above 1,000 feet first.
One Juliet, traffic, Beach November 90254, Lima is 3 miles north, inbound, visual, runway 18.
Now we'll keep flying towards the south. We want to find Highway 121 and follow it. That looks like it over there. Now these smaller highways, they're harder to find from the air. We're also VFR, so we want to keep clear of these clouds.
Piper 9er, Charlie Kilo, please expedite your climb to 6,000.
Alright, one thing I want to show you real quick, I forgot to do during the cruise, is true airspeed. You can get your true airspeed from the indicated airspeed in here by setting your pressure opposite temperature. It's 18 degrees Celsius. Now there's 3 marks. Hold on a second. Let me shut him up for a second. There's 3 marks on each side of the 0 on this pressure altitude indicator for temperature, and they're in 10-degree increments. So, and you set right is negative, plus is or left is positive, and right is negative. So you set your pressure altitude. In this case, we're at 6,500, opposite your degrees Celsius. Now it's 18 degrees Celsius. So we'll set 6,500, that's 7,000. So roughly right there at a 10 degrees Celsius mark. And you can see our true airspeed is roughly 110 knots. So although we're indicating just shy of 100, our actual speed through the air is 110 knots, or fluctuating between it. And if you look at our GPS, our ground speed is 110 knots. So we have roughly 0 winds at this altitude right now. And if I check my weather, I love my weather add-on, allows me to do this. We can see that, yeah, roughly 4 knots from 268, so not much really going to affect us. So that's how you get your true airspeed. Now, if you want to get ground speed without looking at a GPS, say you were flying the one that didn't have it, then you would need a whiz wheel, or you can pull up this by hitting Shift 2, and you can see that it is Our ground speed's 126 miles per hour or 110 knots. And we're getting about 7 gallons per hour, which is better than the flight plan predicted. So, yeah, this is a useful thing to have right here. Consider this your whiz wheel, basically.
Piper Niner, Charlie Zulu, please expedite your climb to 6,000. Crystal River traffic, Cessna, November 906, Charlie Sierra is on downwind, runway 27. Crystal River traffic, Cessna, November 906, Charlie Sierra is on base, runway 27. Crystal River traffic, Cessna, November 906, Charlie Sierra is on final, runway 27 to land.
Crystal River traffic, Cessna, November 919er, Whiskey Hotel is 10 miles east and down visual, runway 27.
there's one thing I need to mention too. When you are on an airfield and it's wet, like this one, you can see the grounds is wet. It must have rained recently before we arrived, or if it is raining, then you need to treat it sort of as if it was a soft field. You want to land as if it was a soft field, and once you slow down, you want to treat it sort of normal. Just keep heads up. You want to watch for hydroplaning, and the plane's going to handle a little bit more slip. The taxiway is wet and slippery, so brake effectiveness is reduced and all that fun stuff. So keep your speed manageable when you're on a wet field, and also if you're on a soft field and it's wet, look out for mud, because you could get the plane stuck. And if you think trying to get a truck out of the mud is fun, well, try getting a plane out of the mud. It's not a fun experience. So yeah, wet fields, treat them as soft field until you slow down, and then sort of treat them normally, except you need to watch for hydroplaning, and brake effectiveness has been reduced. The reason I say normally is you want to have some weight on the nose wheel to give you more effective turning ability when you need it on a wet field. If you have weight off of it, it's not going to turn as effectively on a wet field. So that's why you want to treat it normally, in the sense that you're not putting back pressure on the yoke. So yeah, treat it soft during landing and takeoff. Taxi, treat it normal, no back pressure on the yoke, and just watch for reduced braking effectiveness and hydroplaning. And that's how you handle wet fields. You're trying to put the flames out, basically. Keep that speed up, find a place to land. You ain't got a lot of options at this point. Shit has hit the fan, find somewhere to land. Don't want to put the speed into the yellow, though. Alright, so keep the air